Hey, everybody. This is such a special interview with such a special person.
Aw.
I have spent probably 4 decades knowing. We've had a very, very close relationship professionally.
Yes.
And she's one of my all-time favorites. And I was not going to let Suzanne Rogers' 50th anniversary on Days of Our Lives or television, which is such a monumental milestone,
I
go by
know.
without talking to you. Hello, my dear friend. It is so good to see
Hello,
you.
I love you. And yes, it's been way too long.
Way too long. Well, we have a lot to dive into, and I
Okay,
thought we'd do a little retrospective, get your comments. And
sure.
we've talked about a lot of this over the years, but to kind of put it all in perspective,
Yes,
1973, August 20th, you first appear on Days of Our Lives.
yes,
Let's
yes.
Now, with everything you've gone through, did you ever think it would last this long?
No. First of all, I was told my character was only going to be on the page for 3 years. 3 years. And then when it came to like 2.5, they said, we'd like to sign you for 7. And I thought, whoa. And by that time, I loved what I was doing. I had only been in musicals like luckily a year maybe, and then the show would close. So to be on something for 2.5 years was like wonderful. And then when they wanted to sign me for 7, I went, yes. So needless to say, I can't believe this 50 years. I really can. It kind of has gone by really fast.
I
I
think
don't
so too.
believe it.
I think so too, because I was looking
I
back
think
like,
so
wait a minute,
too.
how did this? But I
I
remember,
know.
I remember so clearly the first day I saw you as Maggie Simmons in the farmhouse, in the
Yeah.
crutches. I remember
Yeah.
your debut episode, and you give water to John Clark to Mickey? He comes to the
Yes.
door. And
Yes.
what do you remember about being at Days? This is your first scene. Were you a nervous
Right.
wreck, or what was
I
that
was
like?
a wreck. I was so wreck. I was so nervous. And I kept saying, please let me call him by his character name and not by John, because it was like this was something new to me. And but I remember that I kind of it kind of took my breath away that everybody was looking at me. See, I had done theater, which meant you were up on the stage and people were out there. All of a sudden you're there and people are standing like 5 feet away from you. And I went, oh, okay. Just kind of not, don't see them anymore and just concentrate on what you're doing. And of course, John was wonderful. He said, I know you're nervous. He said, but you're going to be nervous. So he said, just go with it. And I saw that, okay. And it was once he took that off me, that I didn't have to be afraid to be nervous, and that I used it. So yeah, crutches and all. I said, an ex-dancer, thank God. I knew what to do with the crutches.
I mean, were you like, wait, I'm a dancer and you're having me on crutches?
I knew you having me on crutches, and for 2.5 years I was on crutches. Oh my Lord.
And
Anyway,
then
it was fun. It was.
tell me now, looking back, there were
Yeah.
ups and downs in working with John Clark, was
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But Maggie and Mickey were so beloved.
Yes.
But what was it like backstage for you? What can you say about, I know there were ups and downs for sure.
Yeah. Well, you know, Susan Flannery told me the very first day that I was on the show, she said, he's got to fall in love with you or he can't work with you. And I said, oh my. So I remembered that in my mind. So when we were back, off stage, he would say, let's go out to dinner. I said, no, no, because I knew Patty, his wife, and all of his kids. And I just, you don't mix business with pleasure. You just don't. That's just not a good thing. And because you had to work and you had to be suspended animation, that was what the soap was. I mean, it was a fantasy. And I thought, let's just keep the two separate. And that's what I tried to do,
And then
which I did.
you guys, yes, and you guys had some
Yes.
memorable scenes. But the one
Uh,
playing in the clip package always is he brings her the red shoes in the
the red
hospital.
shoes. Yes. Well,
Red shoes. I mean,
my
yeah.
favorite movie was the red shoes, and all of a sudden they're going to tie that in. Wow, I was so moved, and the dialogue was, when you get well, I'm going to take you out dancing and you will wear the red shoes. And that was like an iconic storyline. And I loved it. I love that storyline.
And what about the fact the whole story where, you were with an amnesiac
Yes.
Marty,
Yes.
and then she realizes he's
Oh,
not Marty, he's a
and he's
Horton.
exactly. And he's married to this beautiful blonde doctor. And I'm thinking, oh my. So when Bill Horton operated on me, his brother, I I faked my getting well because I was afraid that if I walked, he would go back to his wife, his beautiful blonde doctor. And here I was, a little farm girl who was nothing, And yeah, it was that was a psychological thing there. But finally it worked out and I got over it.
What did it mean to you that through all of this time, they've kept you really tied to the Horton family? You've been tied to
I
the
know.
legacy family of the show. We want to
I
see
know.
Maggie at Christmas. We want to see her with, you
I
know,
know. I
with
know.
Francis and Mac, with, Tom and
I
Alice, with Bill
know.
and Susan.
I know.
That is such an amazing, like, who else? You were the one person that came in later into that group.
Yeah. And stayed like glue. I'm very lucky. I was very lucky. I was very lucky that Betty Corday loved my character and just was, I mean, at one point, being out in the sun, being in California, my hair got like a little too light for her. And she called me over to her office and she said, your hair's getting too blonde. I want you to be red, just like that picture. She had a picture of me up on her wall. I just love this woman. And then when her son took over, I know his love was music, but he was the next in line. He was, and he picked up the reins and ran with it. And he was as much in love with the character as his mom was. So yeah, I owe a lot to Ken
And you
because I know network and the powers that be wanted certain age people not to work, and you know what I mean, all the things. And different writers like to write for you and don't like to write for you. So I was there, when they killed 10 of us off and then they brought us back. And then when my Mickey passed away, I thought that was going to be it for me. And then when my John passed away, John Aniston passed away, Victor passed away, I thought it was going to be it for me. So I'm very lucky to still be there.
and I want to touch upon those things.
Yeah.
This is so, I don't know if you remember this. I remember you and me on
Yeah.
the red carpet at the ArcLight Theater, and when they did the
Ah,
Aggie's death,
yes. Oh
and
my
you and I
God.
were on the red carpet, and
Oh
you were
my
in
God.
tears, and I was in tears. I'm like, I don't want to watch this.
I know. I
Or
know. I didn't either.
at that time, you believed you were fired. You were gone from the
I
show.
thought I was gone. Yeah, I thought I was gone. Well, and to see yourself 10 feet, I mean, it was 7 feet tall, that screen. I thought, oh, it was more than I could handle. And I really thought that was the end. And I thought, well, this was the big send off. But
Wasn't she
it was a
bludgeoned?
shock.
Was she bludgeoned in
Yes.
the head with the alcohol
Yes,
bottle?
yes. And for months and months and months, it was Marlena that hit her with the bottle and smashed her in, whatever, and I thought, oh my goodness gracious. So yeah, it was not a pretty scene.
It wasn't. The whole thing was so surreal, and you and I were
Yeah,
talking like privately, like,
yeah,
I can't believe this is what's going on, and
I know, I
we
know,
all believed it, and it was
I
all a
know.
PR stunt. It turns out everybody was
I
alive.
know. And
Like,
and people say, well, did you not? No, I didn't know. I mean, I really thought, and in the meantime, I had brought my mother out here, and I had added on to my house, brought her out here, and I thought, I'm going to lose this house. I mean, I just really was not a joke. It wasn't a joke. But we were all brought back on April the 1st. Hello.
yeah, and you make a really good point that I did want to address. Obviously, you've been
Yeah.
fortunate because they've given you
Yes.
two loves of your life, Mickey,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
he passed away. So you've been very fortunate to have
I
these,
have.
these two
Yes.
characters.
Yes.
Talk to me about, I would come to see you and John on
Uh-huh.
the set of Days when I
Uh-huh.
was working there. And John was the master of one-liners. And I was wondering, how were you when you learned that he had passed? What was that like for you, knowing that he wasn't well anyways at the
Now
time?
this is John Aniston we're
John
talking
Aniston.
about. Okay. I knew he wasn't well, but they gave him the Emmy for body of work,
Lifetime
and I
achievement.
was there, and that was wonderful. And I called him the next day and I said, "Well, did I make you proud?" And he said, "Yes." So it was surreal because um, they didn't write it into the show right away. And so we went through this grieving period, and then we went through it again in Showtime. And yeah, it was. We got along really well. I loved his sense of humor, and we worked well together. Um, uh, I don't know. I've just been really lucky. I've
And
just
then
been really lucky in that.
we watched just recently last week your 50th anniversary episode, and then there were clips
Yes,
there, and then there were clips after that. And Maggie
and you
found
could see the scenes were good with us
they were
together.
really
They,
good. And I
they
was
were so
wondering,
good.
how was it for you to film Victor's death? Justin has to tell Maggie, this is what
Yeah.
happened. His plane went down.
Mhm.
The audience who's followed the show just loves Maggie and never wants to see her in pain. So how was
Yeah.
it to film those scenes? Was it hard for you or okay?
It was hard because I could think right back to the memorial service, and that was a hard day. And I knew all I kept thinking in my mind is he's not in any pain anymore. And I kept saying that. Um, so I had to play the scenes, and it was all surreal. It really was surreal. The the fact that he was no longer going to be there, and you will see on the set now is there's a tribute to him on the set. So that was that. I just look at that all the time. That's what I look at, and
Did
I'm
you,
right there. I'm right there with him.
when you were going through your time on the show so far,
Yeah.
it's very important to note that you were the first actress to win Outstanding Supporting Actress in a daytime drama. You were handed
Yes.
in 1979, and that
Yes.
was for your work. It was
Yes.
the alcoholism storyline.
Yeah. Exactly.
And I believe this was when you were nominated with Susan Brown, and you didn't know which Susan they were.
Yes. Yes. And Frances Reed, and they said Susan, and I leaned over to congratulate her because she was sitting right in front of me. And they said Rogers, and she turned around to me and said, "It's you." And I mean, and all I kept thinking was, "Don't fall down the steps," because we were at the New York State Theater in New York, and you had to get down these steps and then get up the steps to go to the stage. And I kept thinking, just don't fall down the steps. Um, anyway, but yeah, it was surreal. That was so surreal.
I mean, but it was so deserved, and it's such in the
Ah,
record books. Whenever they talk, I mean, you are in the record books in television history as the first actress to win an outstanding. That's the first time the award was ever given out.
that was given. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't even a cat. They didn't even have that category for
Yes. No, they
daytime
didn't.
drama,
They didn't.
right?
Morgan Freeman gave it to me, gave me the award. Morgan, I know. Hey, who knew?
All right. So Maggie's alcoholism has been a key part of her story through
Yeah.
the years.
Yeah.
Got
Yeah.
her in all
Yeah.
sorts of trouble, whether she fell back on the bottle or whether they framed her. How do
Exactly.
you feel
Exactly.
about the responsibility of taking on the alcoholism story? And what do you think about how you've played the story when you look at it?
Well,
You
I think the first time I wasn't as prepared because I thought, whoa, and I knew the audience right off the bat hated it. They didn't like the Maggie character getting soiled in any way. But it led to the Emmy. I mean, because it was that which led to her drinking, which led to her losing her daughter. I mean, that's one of the scenes, one of the clips of the 3 clips that I sent to the Emmys. So, I mean, it was bad and it was good. I mean, I was glad it was over with because I had no reference point. There's no one in my family had ever seen this behavior. So that was then. And then when they brought it up again, I knew a little more about it, and the trauma and the stress which causes people to drink. And it was the losing of I thought I was responsible for killing Adrian and my granddaughter. I mean, wham, wham. Thank you, ma'am. Okay. And so, and it just ate me up because, okay, fine. I'm going to I turned myself in. I mean, I just felt responsible that I had to own up to it. My character was such that she couldn't live with a lie. She couldn't, when she found out that she might have been responsible for that, she had to turn herself in.
And
she went to prison.
Yeah,
and then she tried to hang herself. Oh my God.
And then hasn't she helped Lucas and Brady with their alcoholism too along the way?
Yes. Lucas and Brady. Yes, absolutely. So, I mean, she's been a sponsor, and then she, gets sucked up in this again, right, so to speak.
We're worried about Maggie now. Do you think she'll have a...
Oh my, I'm worried about Maggie too. I'm worried about her too.
I mean, I'm worried about,
I don't, well, I'm worried about her too, because I think she just lost her husband. Okay. I'm just going to say that up front. And I think things are happening fast. And I don't, she's she's a businesswoman. She's owned 2 restaurants. Victor made her CEO of Titan, even though now Alex is running it. But he thought enough of her to know that she could do it. And I just don't think she would be so stupid. I don't want her to be stupid. She would pick up on her antenna would be up as far as what's going on.
I think we're hoping that she would protect the legacy, and it would feel her to get past the pain she's in.
Yes.
Drink herself.
Exactly. Well, either that or whatever is down the road. I just she needs to get back to the woman that Victor knew she was.
How's it working with Rob as Alex? Because now you guys are in a lot.
I love it. We have great scenes together, and he's right there, and he works hard, and we get along really well. I mean, just like I got along great with Eric Martzoff. I mean, I've had some great guys to work with, and Xander's my favorite. I mean, he's married to my daughter now, so he's still around, and he's always protecting me. He's the one that kind of, I was the only one that I buffed him when he and Victor were at it, and I would be the buffer to kind of smooth that over. So yeah, I love working with Paul.
They have a special relationship, Xander and Maggie.
Yes, sure. They do. They really do. They really do.
Which is an unlikely.
He never forgot that. He never forgot that she took up for him.
Yeah.
Now,
I wanted to go back one step. We didn't talk about when John Clark passed away. How were you at that point? Now, were you like, what are they going to do with my character? Or how did you?
I really thought I was off the show. I mean, I thought that was going to be the end of the character, because we were so involved as a couple that I thought, okay, well, where am I going to go next? There were, and actually the audience, the fans were what made it happen. When he came and brought me flowers at my back door, that scene right there was the turning point for the audience. They went, whoa, that's good. That's good. And so much so, I've been on the show for years with Mickey, and they never gave us a name, a couple name.
A smoosh
and
name.
Within a month together, they gave us Magic. And
Victor and Maggie.
Aniston, yes. And Victor came up, John came up to me and he said, okay, you're Mag. What am I, the ick? And I
you and I have an interview with you and I and John from Day of Days, when he said, I'm the ick.
And he said it. He said it. Yeah. So yeah, it was, but it was the fans that did it. The fans did it because I don't think they had planned on that. I'm not sure. I don't think the writers had seen that. And the fans just went, whoa, we like this. And when they didn't want me to be by myself.
Well, that's what I'm saying. When John died, when Mickey had to die on the show too, right?
Yeah. So yes,
you've gone through this kind of twice.
Yes.
What was it like that first time killing off Mickey and then all of that for you?
Um, that was awful because it's the first time that it happened in my life. And I hadn't lost anyone really close to me. My parents were still alive. So my grandparents had passed away when I was a little girl, teeny little girl. So I didn't have anyone, any reference to that. So it really was, I really put myself like that he was my husband in real life. You know, when Mickey died, I remember going into the room and seeing the casket and falling on the casket. I remember that. And that was a long time ago, but that was so, it stuck out of my mind that it just was so emotional, you know, that. Um, so then I go through, I have to go through it again. Maybe they like me so much going through it once they wanted to do it
To do
again.
it again. Yeah. Um, Myasthenia gravis is what you've had
Yes,
through your life, and then they've written it into the show at times. And I
yes,
remember there
yes.
was a point when you and I talked years ago. I think we didn't like that they were doing that, but then we kind of like they were doing that. Like I think you went through. Can you talk to me about that? And
Okay. They had all right. I got this illness called myasthenia gravis, which I didn't know what it was, and not too many people did. And so Al Raven
Al Raven.
said to me, he called me and he said, we want you to come back to the show. And I said, Al, I said, I've been through quite a trauma. And I said, I've been on prednisone, and prednisone, they call it moon face. And the reason for that is it blows up your face and it gives you a spare tire around your middle. And I said, I look quite a bit different because when I left the show, my contract had been up and I knew something was wrong. Something was off. Being a dancer, you know, you kind of know your body. And so I went to almost 9 doctors to figure out what was wrong. And finally, one doctor at UCLA said, you have this illness, myasthenia gravis. I said, well, then just give me a pill. Let me get, let me get going. And he said, no, it's not that simple. It's a progression. You got to go on this medication. It takes a long time to go on it. Then when you get on it and you level off, then you have to go off of it. So when he called, I said, I look different. And he said, well, he said, we would like for you to come back to the show. And I said, okay. I said, but I think you ought to see me first. I just didn't want to shock anybody. He said, so we met at Dupar's and actually Wes Kenny and he both agreed to come to Dupar's, and it didn't register on their face that I looked any different, but I did, but I really did.
You knew.
And they said, well, we'll work around you, whatever you need. If you need to come in at noon, we'll work, you know, that's fine. If you need whatever you need, we'll put a sofa in your dressing room so you can lie down, you know. And then the audience started seeing me on camera. And the first day I saw myself on camera, I turned off the camera. I turned off the TV and I started crying. And I thought, well, I guess God wants to see me, see myself like this. So I put it back on and I forced myself to watch. And it didn't look like me to me. And then the audience, of course, got a hold of it and they said, what's the matter with her? You know, what is she drinking? Is she doing this? What is wrong? So they figured they had to write it in the show. And I said, only if it has a happy ending, because I plan on beating this. And that was the criteria that we went with, was that they would write it in the show, but they had to have a happy ending.
And they
And
brought it,
so,
yeah. And they've had it
yeah.
come back one other time or something. Didn't they have it come back?
And Michael Weiss was my doctor.
Michael Weiss. Yes.
Michael Weiss, who was Mickey's son
Yes.
slash,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
And so yeah, it was they wrote it in. And so that's why they bring it out every so often, you know, they mention it, you know, when it happens, stress in her life, you know. So I'm really glad this time with the death of Victor that they didn't bring it up, because, you know, it's just a good thing.
I know.
Let's deal with the death as opposed to me. You know what I mean?
And
I
to
didn't
your
want it to be about me.
right. And the
Yeah.
reason I bring this all up is because of the history of our discussions and what's been out there in the press before.
Yeah.
These are all things
Yeah.
that have been
Yeah.
part of what everybody knows about you through
Yes. Yes.
years. And what I've always said about you that has made you so special to me is because I know in my own way, I believe you are such a true survivor of so much. I have such respect for you, enormous
Oh,
respect for you,
thank you.
because of we know, I know what it's like to, be on this thing where you've had.
Exactly. Exactly.
I do want to address Maggie's kids. So this is insane. So she had Janice. There was Janice, who she lost custody of.
Yes.
She had Melissa, who
Yes.
she adopted. She had
And
Sarah,
Sarah.
who
Yeah.
yeah. And then she found out she was Daniel's mother. I mean,
Daniel's mother.
were you
And
at like
she's
one
lost two of them.
you like, wait, who's my real
I
kid?
know.
Who's not my
I
kid?
I wish I'd had so much fun doing it.
But
There you go.
there was the whole adopted trying to have a baby, the Neil Curtis
That's
thing.
it. That's absolutely.
What was it like working with
Evan
Joe
Weiland.
and Evan Weiland?
Well, yeah. Well, we thought it was Evan Weiland's, but it wasn't. It was Joe Gallison's petri dish.
Neil.
Anyway, yeah. Oh God, those storylines.
And did you ever stay in touch with Lisa Trussell?
Yeah, I see her every so often. Every so often I see her. We run into each other or at something.
I just remember Melissa. I just remember that relationship. And then Janice.
Yes.
She lost
And
custody of Janice, and that's when she started drinking. Yeah.
Yes. And that was this clip where I lost her. Yeah. Well, that was it. Nobody believed me. Nobody believed. I kept seeing this woman. There was somebody following me, and I kept saying, somebody's following me, and nobody believed me. And Alice didn't believe me, and Mickey didn't believe me. And so I started drinking. And so finally it came to pass. Yes, it was the birth mother had hired a lawyer, and they came to take the baby. They came to take her away from me. And so the day that I lost her, the day that they came to take her away, was the scene that was one of the scenes, the clips that I put in my role for the Emmys. And I remember looking out the window and seeing Mickey putting her in the car with her real mother. And I was in this apartment all by myself. And I remember, dropping to my knees and just, and of course, it was not planned. I had said to the one camera guy, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. And so as it turned out, he followed everything I did. So it worked. It worked beautifully.
Can I just get your quick thoughts on a few things? Tell me about working with Lindsay Gottfried. What's it like having her as your Sarah?
Oh, I love it. Love it. Love it. First of all, she has brown eyes just like me, so that makes us, we laugh and we get tickled, and it's wonderful. We are like mother and daughter. It's really nice. It's real nice.
And Sean Christian is Daniel. What was that like to be
Oh my God. Oh my God. Well, I we both looked at each other, and he said, I'm too old to be your mother, your son, and I said, well, you said it, I didn't. But oh, he was a dear. He was wonderful. We would do scenes together, and he said, God, she makes me cry. I mean, don't, and it was a lovely relationship that we had. And yeah, it was hard when they killed him off, let me tell you.
And didn't you have another daughter, Summer? Wasn't there Summer?
Summer, yes, she was the alcoholic.
The alcoholic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Marie,
so she blamed me.
She blamed me. Yeah.
Yeah. Yes. Oh, honey, I go through
them. Susan Seaforth Hayes and you.
Yes.
I saw a lovely photo of the two of you celebrating your birthdays and celebrating your anniversary. What has it been like going through this journey with Susan Seaforth Hayes and Bill being there as kind of you're the staples of the show at this point?
Well, Bill and Susan they saw me at the Schubert Theater doing Follies. So that was the musical I was in right before I came on the show. And the very first day that we saw each other in the hallway, he said, I know who you are. You played you played Phyllis on, on Folly. And I said, oh my goodness, and so I was shocked that anyone had seen the show. And that's kind of, we talked about theater and we talked about musicals, and we had so much to talk about. Susan, Mary Fran, Lana Saunders, and myself, we celebrated our birthdays every July for years, as long as they were on the show. And so Susan and I have tried to continue to do that even after they're no longer here. We've continued to do that. We have a very special relationship, Susan and I. There's I loved her mother. There was a relationship with her mother that I had, and she would call me over. She said, come over to my house. She said, I want to show you something, and it was just, it was different. And then when my mom came out, my mom was a little bit of a jealous person. So we weren't, her mother had passed away by then. So that there wasn't a conflict there, but she kept me away from a lot of my friends. I mean, it wasn't that she kept me away. She demanded my attention. And so I kind of backed off and gave her all the attention she needed. And then when I lost her 2 years ago, I got to pick up my relationship again. And thank God nobody held it against me that I hadn't been there, because I was there, but not as much as I had been. So yeah, we love each other.
It's a beautiful, yeah, it's really nice
and
to see.
I love Bill. I talk to them every Sunday. I call and just see how they are and wish them a happy Sunday. Whatever the happy sunny day and whatever. It's it's just something that I just do. It's just something I love to do. If I can't reach them, then I call back and I leave a message. I have to talk to them.
What do you think John Aniston, if he was alive, would have said to you on your 50th anniversary with the show? If he would have been here with us this past week?
He would have said, God, you don't look old enough to be there 50 years. That's what he would have said. Yeah. He was lovely, a lovely man, a good actor. And we enjoyed each other. Yeah.
And finally,
when we had scenes together, I mean, one day I remember we had this scene and I said, can I sit on your lap? And he said, sure. So I sat on his lap and we finished the scene. They had us doing some awkward move. And I said, could I just sit on his lap? And so I asked him if it was okay. And he said, sure. So that's how we were. It was just nice.
Finally, I want to ask, what would you want to say to the fans? What would you want to say to the fans who've been by your side and have loved you as Maggie for 50 years and who, for many, you're one of their favorites on the show? What would you want to say for their support or viewing or, being a champion of Maggie through the years?
Well, I couldn't still be here without them. That's the first thing. The fact that they have written in and complained when they didn't like something or they liked something. The fact when they got rumors that maybe they were going to get rid of so many of us, they wrote in and they were champions. And I've never had a big family, and they kind of are my big family. It's like they tell you when they don't like something, they tell you when they do like something, but they don't give up on you. They just don't. And so, I'm grateful. I'm very lucky and I'm grateful. And I hope I've been a joy to them.
Suzanne, happy 50th. Thank you. Thank you for doing this with me, and so I could connect with you and share with you, go through everything with you. I wouldn't want to let it go by without seeing you.
Oh, all right. Michael, so much. You look so good. So glad
thank
to talk
you.
to
You look beautiful. I think about you often, and I was just like, I was just like you. I was like, wait, how did 50 years go?
I haven't talked to you. I know. It was too fast.
Thank you, everybody, for watching. Suzanne, happy 50th. And
Thank you.
Watch her weekdays on Peacock, streaming on Days of Our Lives, because we don't know what's coming up now for Maggie. A whole new chapter?
Oh, boy.
All right.
Right.
Right. Right. Okay. All right, Suzanne, have a
Okay.
great day.
Bye-bye. Thank you,
Bye.
darling. Take care.